And welcome to episode 98 of the Wrestling Outsiders podcast. It is Sunday, November 22nd, 2015. This is Emerson Whitner. We are also being broadcast tonight on AngryMarks.com. So with that, I bring you my brother, my compadre, my co-host, Brian. Please don't curse up a storm and cause me to be thrown off the air again, Whitner. Brian, how you doing this evening?
Did I really make us get tossed off the air last time we did this?
No, just, please don't cuss.
I will try my hardest, however, I cannot guarantee you anything. How's that?
Man, was this a boring show.
See, I had mixed emotions about it. It was thoroughly predictable as I predicted every match correctly and got my 25 bonus points. But still, it was predictable, but the matches were somewhat entertaining.
By the way, when no one has any idea what you're talking about, don't bring it up.
It's okay. I like to brag to you. That's all.
Okay. But we'll get into all that and more, including the question, does this now mean Kalisto and Jimmy Uso are going to get shots at the world title? But we'll discuss all that in a few minutes. But first, let's get some show notes out of the way. As we mentioned, this is episode number 98. Do you know what happens in 2 episodes, Brian?
We hit triple digits?
Even Brian can do that simple math. Even Brian.
Heck yeah.
But before we get to 100, I go to 99 this Wednesday when I sit down with Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter this Wednesday at around 10 o'clock. And if you've been following, usually I post the show 6 hours early. But either way, check it out this Wednesday. An amazing, awesome interview with Dave Meltzer. And for those of you who listened to our Chase Owens interview on this past Wednesday, Dave is not somebody who, if you ask him a question, says yes or no and then moves on. Dave likes to talk, and I like to talk wrestling too, so we were a good match. Plus, the funny thing is I tried to wrap the interview up after an hour, and then we talked for about another 20 minutes. So that's all to come this Wednesday night at 10. And then Wednesday, December 2nd, we hit 100 episodes, and right now we're working on that show, and Brian and I have some ideas for that show. But the big news, you need to check out either my Twitter at TheReallyRealEW or Brian and I's Facebook page because the really big news, we broke in on all 3 of those places in time for our 100th episode on December 2nd.
Yes.
So with that in mind, Brian, we go to Survivor Series. This show, in front of any other crowd, may have been good, but they blew their stack for the first match through the work of the people in the match, and then they progressively died more and more throughout the rest of the show.
The man who they blew their stack for was booed during the last match.
Well, Roman was booed when he came out in the first match, but the work of him and Del Rio, brought the crowd around, and it was easily the best. It was easily the best match of the night.
Easily.
But let's not even start there. Let's start with the pre-show match, Brian, because I know you watched it because you were Facebooking me during it.
I did. I did watch it, yeah.
It was a 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match, and oh boy, listen to these 2 teams.
There's real winners on these teams, folks.
Yes, if you watch Superstars, these 10 people win quite often. The Miz, Bo Dallas, Stardust, and The Ascension versus Neville, the Dudley Boys, Gold Dust, and Titus O'Neil.
Where is Darren Young?
I don't know. That's what everyone's wondering. Is he injured? Who knows? Speaking of injuries, by the way, Cesaro may be out with a shoulder injury. Yes.
That explains why he didn't appear in anything this evening.
JR broke the news on that one. And so this match, for some reason, Victor, by the way, the better of the two Ascension, Victor was eliminated in 30 seconds with a Goldust Power Slam. And when that happened, I'm like, okay, that for some reason that hit me. The heels were going to be swept out of the match. That did not happen.
No, and I'm kind of shocked who got eliminated.
Yes, out of the Dudley Boys, Titus O'Neil, Goldust, and Neville, who's the one person on that team that got eliminated?
Neville.
Neville was the loser on his team.
That's sad.
And I want to point out, this match, it was boring as all hell. Made worse. I don't know if it was made better or worse by the two lengthy commercial breaks in the middle of the match.
My question is, what the hell happened to the Dudleys at the end? Like, did they get knocked off the apron, or did they disappear after the second break?
No, they started selling on the ground. Get to that. It came down to 4-on-2 with Stardust and Bo Dallas for the last two for the heels. Yes, of all people. And let's see here. They were getting heat on Goldust, and Goldust finally cuts them off. He starts reaching for the tag, and the only person on the apron was Titus O'Neil because the Dudley Boys fell asleep during the match and fell off the apron. Is what I think must have happened.
I don't know. Something must have happened.
Yes, because what they were not doing was sitting in the ring waiting for, a tag.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Bo Dallas, by the way, was the one that laid out Neville. He hit the Bo Dog, and Miz tagged himself in and pinned him with a skull-crushing finale. But Bo Dallas was given credit for actually eliminating him.
The Bo Dog. Haven't seen that in forever.
That's because he hasn't won a match in forever.
Sure that.
Titus got the hot tag, pinned Bo with the Clash of the Titus, which because Titus hasn't won a match either in a year and a half, it's the D'Lo Brown Lowdown. For those of you who did not watch NXT Redemption all those years ago. And then Stardust. This was weird. Stardust was left 4-on-1 against everyone. He went outside the ring, hit his brother Goldust, and then was like, oh, shit, and went running around, went back into the ring, immediately got laid out with a 3D and pinned. So Titus O'Neil, Goldust, and the Dudley Boys were your survivors of the opening match.
Sure.
Yes. That match blew.
A little bit.
And
but it fitted perfectly on the card.
Well, to make it better, Michael Cole's like, and you're going to see more action just like that in another traditional Survivor Series match at Survivor Series. And we don't know the participants yet. I'm like,
nope, no idea.
And I said later, I hope to God, if the match at Survivor Series was worse, I was going to quit. It was a little better.
Although it was very predictable, I would say 5 out of 10.
Actually, as soon as the baby faces all came out, because they came out first, I wrote down the entire heel team, and they got it right.
Well, I figured New Day, but I kind of forgot the other two for the life of me. For some reason, it didn't click in my mind, Sheamus or Barrett. I don't know why.
Yep, because, Sheamus and Barrett, well, at least until tonight, were a full-time team.
It could still be.
Well, oh, God, that'll get into. Remember when people cashed the Money in the Bank when they had momentum or at least something going on for them?
Yeah.
It's like even when the Money in the Bank losers lost week after week, month after month, month after month, at least they had something of a storyline for a few months or a few weeks at least. When the hell was the last time Sheamus did anything?
When he won Money in the Bank, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say his feud with Dolph Ziggler, but that was before.
Yeah.
But then Survivor Series starts, Roman Reigns versus Alberto Del Rio. I should point out that Roman got cheered almost on every show since Hell in a Cell, and he gets booed right here.
Yeah.
JBL seemed to be foreshadowing the whole night that Ambrose was going heel because he kept going on and on and on that Ambrose was the only person in the tournament who shouldn't win. They showed Hunter watching backstage on the monitor, which actually of the first 20 minutes of the show, that got the biggest reaction of anything.
True story.
I wrote Roman went shoulder first into the ring post. I want to put out that move happened 3 times tonight.
Yes.
The ring post.
Are you just hold on? Are you just reading your notes from AngryMarks.com?
It helps me, remember what happened. By the way, AngryMarks.com, I did live play-by-play, so in addition to listening to me, you can read my notes. And
I guarantee they're very similar.
Yeah. Well, Brian, it's not like something different happened between the notes that I wrote and, what else happened on the show.
Yeah, but still.
It's not like I had a completely different show suddenly. You cut me off. I wanted to say that Del Rio did the Chris Hamrick bump that, where he goes flying feet first, his opponent moves, and he goes flying out the ring through the top and middle rope feet first.
Back to the and you forgot to mention that Goldust is added onto the list of people who do the Canadian Destroyer.
I didn't really count that.
You didn't count that as a Canadian Destroyer?
No. It was more of a Code Red than a Canadian Destroyer.
Okay, fair enough.
Remember when Cena was doing the Code Red?
That was scary.
Yeah. Especially when Owens landed on his head that time.
Yeah, that's probably the last time you'll see him doing that.
Yeah. By the way, Del Rio got on the Carson Breaker after working on Roman's shoulder for like 15 minutes. But, of course, baby faces don't tap out. Roman got out of it. Del Rio went to the top rope. By the way, Del Rio's new move where he goes up top, someone goes after him for a superplex, but Del Rio can never be superplexed like Billy Kidman can never be powerbombed. But you're like, Roman Reigns has never, ever gone for a superplex in his life, so he'll never do that. Roman Reigns went for a superplex and almost lost the match, but, he didn't. Instead, Del Rio went to the top for a what a maneuver. Roman rolled away and won with the spear. Your thoughts on that match, Brian?
I think earlier when you said this was a match of the night candidate, this definitely was a very good opener. One of the better openers they've had in a long time.
Well, I didn't say it was a match of the night candidate. I said it was the match of the night.
Well, yeah.
Well, candidate would have that there are multiple candidates.
Yes. 6, to be exact.
8, by the way. There were 8 matches.
Oh, okay.
By the way, in case you're not listening to us right now, you could be watching Breaking Ground, which I haven't watched since the first episode. And tonight on Breaking Ground, Dana Brooke and her gray hair and Mojo Rawley pick up girls while driving down the road.
That makes sense.
Someone talked to JoJo because she got rid of her big bushy hair.
It happens.
Yes. As someone with big bushy hair, I don't know about that. By the way, she interviewed Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns said he would win. Dean Ambrose walked up and fist bumped him. Kevin Owens said that he'd win. Well, Kevin Owens didn't even make it through the next match. Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose, there was a smattering of noise through this match. This was the gradual death of the crowd. Like we said, they didn't really care at first for Roman and Del Rio, but they had a great match, and the crowd got lifted up for it. but this didn't help them at all.
No.
I don't know what was the whole thing with the show tonight, because, like, except for that first match, we did not have a whole lot of long matches, but in each match they were all selling like these matches are going on forever and a day. Like in this one, it was barely 10 minutes in, and both men were selling like they were dead. They went through all their finishers. Ambrose, by the way, in the move of the match, he hit a suicide dive on one side of the ring. Owens rolled through the ring out to the other side. Ambrose went for a second suicide dive, but Owens caught him on his shoulders and threw him onto the announce table. Owens hit 2 super kicks in the ring, went for the pop-up powerbomb. Ambrose got away from it, hit the dirty deeds, and won. Good match. Probably ended up being second best match on the show, but not as good as actually it was the third best match, because the main event, all 9 minutes of it were pretty good. But
yeah.
But it was still a good third best match of the night.
Agreed. I mean, I thought the Divas match wasn't that bad either.
The problem is nobody gave a crap for the Divas match, and that was when it really, really died on this show.
Yeah.
Traditional Survivor Series elimination match, the Ryback, the Lucha Dragons, and the Usos versus the New Day, the King Barrett, and Sheamus, who was clutching onto his briefcase like he was afraid it was going to get away.
I wonder why.
It seems like every time we have a pay-per-view, the story of the New Day match is Xavier has a wacky new haircut.
I feel that's probably the thing they're going for, Emerson.
Like, remember a few months ago when he had that horrible half-dyed red haircut?
That was pretty bad.
And now he had a pompadour for tonight. And the beginning of the match, he was very concerned about the babyface team touching it, which led to the Usos being booed when they dragged Xavier around by the hair.
Yeah.
The Ryback did his first ever top rope dive, mostly because the other 9 guys were all standing underneath him waiting for him to fall. So, let's see here. Big E did his big-ass spear through the middle rope to the outside, killing Sin Cara, which is when Sheamus tagged himself in, causing dissension, and he pinned Sin Cara with a brogue kick. Him and Big E argued, so he tagged Big E back in, and Big E immediately got pinned with a big splash by Jey Uso. At that point, it was 3-on-3 actually. Yeah, it was 3-on-3 because they already eliminated Xavier Woods and King Barrett. This is easy for me to say. They already eliminated King Barrett and Jimmy Uso, and then Sin Cara got pinned. And then Big E got pinned. So then it was 3-on-3. However, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston left with Big E getting counted out in the meantime. So it was down to 3-on-1 when the Ryback pinned Sheamus with the shell shock, even though Jey Uso was the legal man. The problem with this is once the New Day left, the fans died, even more than they had been already. And when the match didn't end right away, the fans just turned their backs on it. And they actually went 5 minutes after the New Day left. And Sheamus, the man who, spoiler alert, is the new WWE champion, could not pin Kalisto, Jey Uso, or the Ryback in that 5 minutes.
Of course not. Come on now.
Yes. I can't wait to see the Ryback ask for his title match tomorrow night on Raw. I'm going to TLC in a month, Brian.
I can see it too, sadly.
What was your thoughts on that match?
I mean, we figured it was like the mid-card jobbers thing, but they could have used other people in this. I don't think they should have put Ziggler and Breeze in a one-on-one. I think they should have just had them two create teams. Not that it would have mattered.
Okay, well, who would you have kicked out of this match to put Dolph Ziggler and Tyler Breeze in it?
King Barrett. Because if you don't put Sheamus in a match, it's too obvious that he was cashing in, even though it was pretty obvious he was going to cash.
No, you could have just not had Sheamus in and never mentioned him.
That's like I don't know. So you take Barrett out of that team and
Exactly.
Yeah, I would probably then take the Lucha Dragons out of that one.
Okay. So it's now 5-on-4.
And threw in
Brian's rolling every baby face on the roster, and there's not that many left.
What if Neville in there, honestly, if he already didn't wrestle? But yeah.
He already had a match.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, yeah.
Neville's not really hard to match. Neville's a loser.
Yeah.
So while Brian spends the next 20 minutes thinking of one other baby face on the roster that could have fit in there, how about Darren Young?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Let's hear. Who lost on Monday? Kalisto, Cesaro. Who did Ambrose? Ambrose beat somebody who doesn't matter because he's probably a heel. And who did Owens beat Neville? So that doesn't. Yeah, that tournament. Oh God, that what Big Show? They could have turned Big Show babyface again.
Again.
Well, did you see the TLC commercial with Ryback, or not Ryback, but Roman Reigns as a video game character? And for some reason, did you notice the people he was beating up in that video game were the freaking Usos?
Yeah.
And the person who knocked him out? Big Show.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah. That led to Charlotte versus Paige in the match where the fans, when they did react, they booed Paige and they they booed Charlotte and chanted for Paige. These two girls tried. They tried really hard. This audience did not care at all.
No.
They thought the best way to get this match over was to hit each other in the face as hard as they could. That did not work. Then Charlotte went back first into the ring post. Still no one cared. They did the loudest they got in the entire match was when Paige got up on the dashboards outside and raised her hands. And even then, they cared just enough to go, "Hey, she's standing right in front of us." And then Charlotte jumped up on the barricade, nearly slipped off with a crappy-looking spear, and they died again. She actually used Bow Down to the Queen, which the announcers did not call, and no one in the crowd noticed. Someone tried to start a "We Want Sasha" chant, but nobody else did. Just wait for Boston next month if Sasha's not on the card. I promise I will be leading that crowd in Sasha chants.
All the way up in your nosebleed section ticket.
Yes. Hey, loud chants can come from anywhere, Brian.
You just be careful. That's all I have to say.
Why?
Be careful.
Okay. Anyway, Charlotte slapped on the figure eight, and when I say nobody reacted to the figure eight and for Paige's tap out, I mean nobody. I don't mean like 5 people reacted somewhere. I don't mean one person reacted somewhere. I mean, it was like nobody was in the arena.
Yeah, that puts it nicely.
And to make it even worse, I don't know if it was, I think it was after this, they went to the Geeks with the pre-show group, and they were talking about how great this match was and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you're just ruining your entire credibility by telling us that this match was great when obviously, A, it wasn't, and B, nobody in the crowd gave a crap.
No, of course not.
Your thoughts?
I didn't think the match was that bad, personally. I mean, it wasn't NXT quality, but it wasn't that bad.
I'm saying I'm not saying they didn't try. Like I said, they tried. Nobody cared. And, of course, it didn't help. They did that shitty-ass angle on Monday.
Yeah.
I don't think we never talked about that. What was your thoughts on it?
I actually did not stay awake long enough to watch it, but I heard all about it.
What were your thoughts on it?
I think she went a little too far, but I'm not surprised.
It's like, even if, you were like, kind of like, I'll let it go. It's like when both Reed Flair's mother and father both talk about how uncomfortable they were, it's like there's no defending it. And obviously WWE knew it was crap because in that video package, did they ever mention that?
No.
And did when Michael Cole's talking about how Paige crossed the line on Monday, he wasn't talking about how she went to TNA, which, by the way, we'll talk about TNA briefly here in a few minutes, too, just remind me. But he never once mentioned what Paige said that was so horrible, but, of course, everyone knows. And personally, I call BS when, you read the story that, people in WWE were trying to claim that Charlotte came up with this idea and was really pushing for it. Like, that was such obvious BS.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Breeze versus Dolph Ziggler. Remember 364 days ago when Dolph Ziggler was the last man left on Team Cena and he pinned Luke Harper, Kane, and Seth Rollins to win the Survivor Series and fire Triple H and Stephanie McMahon from WWE?
I do remember that, yes.
Well, now everyone knew Dolph Ziggler wasn't even going to beat Tyler Breeze.
No.
However, the fans reacted more for Tyler Breeze's music than they did for the entire Divas match.
Oh, yeah. He's the best in wrestling right now.
Zoolander came out over 10 years ago. In fact, I think it came out in 2003. What do you think Tyler Breeze's gimmick would be if that movie came out now?
Very similar, I think.
No, it wouldn't be, because, Vince only discovers movies 10 years after they happened. Like, I'm waiting now. What movie came out in 2005? The only one I can think of is The Longest Yard. We're going to have a Longest Yard character on WWE soon.
Possibly. He did The Great Khali.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You forgot he was in there, didn't you?
I didn't forget he was in it, but, it's one of those things I try to forget.
No, you don't need to remember. It's okay.
I can imagine Vince going to the writer's room going, I have this great idea. I saw this awesome movie over the weekend. The Longest Yard. Ha, ha, ha.
Vince, you're a fucking idiot, aren't you? Yes.
Someone would be fired. This match, it's like they had a 15-minute match in mind. It got cut down to 7, but then they decided to do the entire 15-minute match in 7 minutes. These two could not have performed quicker if they tried, including doing the Eddie Guerrero-Dean Malenko series of 2 counts, but instead of stepping up and having the standoff, which is the cheap, everyone now applauds you for doing that series of roll-ups, instead they went right into the next spot. Breeze blocked a super kick. Dolph blocked in prettier, but Tyler eventually nailed it in prettier a second time and picked up the win. And let's be honest, is there any person in the world who should be using the unprettier other than Tyler Breeze?
No.
We saw 37 super kicks, 3 people thrown shoulder first into a ring post, but only one man can use the unprettier.
Tyler Breeze.
However, I feel bad. What was that?
Me doing my Tyler Breeze entrance. I like it.
Alrighty. And people wonder why I replaced Brian for a month.
Because I pretty much no-showed 2 episodes of that one email ahead of time.
Yep, that'll do it. By the way, poor Tyler Breeze. JBL compared him to Shawn Michaels, so his career is ruined.
Mm-hmm.
At 9:50 p.m., the video package for Brothers of Destruction versus the Wyatt family began. I got up, went to the bathroom, had a sandwich, had a glass of milk, came back. It was 10:07, and The Undertaker was still walking to the ring.
Yeah.
The pre-match stuff went 20 minutes. The match went 8 minutes. And to the shock of nobody, Undertaker and Kane not only won, but they basically beat all 4 people to win the match.
Yeah.
Undertaker had a really cool entrance. I know, shocking, right? Undertaker gets a really cool entrance.
Yeah.
And in the background, they're showing still shots of each version of the Undertaker, from the original Dead Man to the satanic Undertaker. I couldn't even spell satanic right. To the American Badass, to our current Undertaker. Eric Rowan ran into the ring right away, but got laid out with a double choke slam. And so that gave us our match of Undertaker and Kane versus Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt, because Rowan just ran away at that point.
Yeah, it was weird.
Undertaker got the heat on Luke Harper, leading to the hot tag when, they were able to tag Bray in to cut off Kane.
Mm.
I know it's backwards. And by the way, Bray wasn't even the one that cut off Kane. Braun Strowman pulled Kane out of the ring and threw Kane over the announcer's table, which took out the announcers for like 2 minutes, which fine, because I was tired of them bringing up over and over again WrestleMania 27. Of all the WrestleManias to bring up, I know they were in Atlanta, but just talk about a different WrestleMania.
And Emerson, that brings memories back for us as our first one.
That brings memories of me wanting to kill you driving to and from Atlanta.
That was my next statement. Like, that was, that was a road trip from hell.
Oh, my God. Please tell me you've gotten better as a driver.
I have.
Good. Because for the love of Mike, you were like, just got to say this quickly. Brian would be 2 full car lengths behind another car, and we're on a 4-lane, actually on an 8-lane highway, going downtown Atlanta, and a car, seeing the giant gap between us and the car in front of us, would pull themselves into the giant gap, and so Brian would begin cursing and screaming at this car for cutting him off. There's like 50 feet between us, but nope, don't want another car in between there, Brian.
Nope, of course not.
Oh, God. By the way, Undertaker and Kane double chokeslam Braun through the Spanish announce table, which would have been more effective had they not done it 2 weeks ago. Bray gave Undertaker's sister Abigail, and then he did the crab walk while Undertaker and Kane were both laid out. And if you saw WrestleMania, you know what happened next. Undertaker and Kane sat up. They did the spooky stare at each other. And Undertaker pinned Luke Harper with a tombstone.
Not really exciting on the match.
The match was what it was. I mean, let's face facts. It was exactly what the fans wanted. They did actually open their mouths for this match. For like the first time in an hour and a half, they opened their mouths. And you know, imagine this match as a 15-minute match. It would have been boring as all hell. Would you rather have had the match go 8 minutes and get the same finish you were going to anyway, or 15 minutes, be boring, and get the same finish you were going to get anyway?
Yep.
Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. Main event time for the vacant WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Which Emerson, was vacated by Seth Rollins due to major knee injury a couple weeks ago, as we were told multiple times.
Yes, Brian. Yes, it was. I don't know why you cut me off to tell me that.
They kept repeating it over and over and over again.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm patting Brian on the head.
All the way in Boston.
Oh, no, but this match, it went a whopping 9 minutes, but it was a fun 9 minutes, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
They went right to their finishes about 5 minutes in, and it's like 10:35, and so you're like, WWE does a lot of these pay-per-views almost right up to the top of the hour, so you're not expecting it to be over this quickly, but in the back of your mind, you're like, I wonder if Sheamus is going to come out. But then you're like, but Sheamus, nobody gave a crap about Sheamus earlier. Like, he has no momentum. They couldn't possibly bother to do it now. So, of course, I was wrong. Dean Ambrose did not learn the sharpshooter. He did not. Charles Robinson did not ring the damn bell. Instead, the finish. They did have a really good spot. Dean went up for his wacky elbow off the top rope to a standing opponent, and as he came down, Roman hit him in the yap with a Superman punch. They traded spears, dirty deeds, blah 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 blah. Roman went shoulder first in the ring post for the second time tonight and the third time overall, and then Dean went corner to corner to get some momentum, and he got speared out of his boots and pinned, and Roman Reigns is your WWE champion, Brian.
Yes. Or was he? Boom, boom, boom.
I'll be honest, as soon as it was 10:40, and I'm like, the show can't be over yet. You're just waiting for an angle to happen, and the pyro starts going off, the confetti comes out, and I'm like, this is just like when Daniel Bryan won the title from Cena. They want to throw you off by having the big ass celebration with confetti and pyro and ballyhoo and blah 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 blah. Ambrose came in, and I'm like, if he was going to turn heel, he was going to turn heel 5 minutes ago, right? Well, I was right. Ambrose didn't turn heel. He hugged Roman and left. And then Triple H came out. And it's like, okay, here's the angle. Hunter comes out. He raises Roman's hand. And Roman just stares at him. Hunter sticks his hand out for the big, hearty handshake. Roman just keeps staring at him and then turns around, starts to walk away, but stops. And before Hunter can go all heel and pedigree Roman spears Hunter out of his boots to one of the bigger reactions of the night for the guy. Yeah. And as he stands up, turns around, there's Sheamus to kick his head off. Sheamus ran in with to kick off Roman's head, hit the bro kick, cashes in Money in the Bank, and even when the bell rang, I'm like, Sheamus has had nothing going for him for months and months and months. There's no way in hell, he's winning because A, he has no momentum, and B, because Roman Reigns is supposed to be the next John Cena. The next John Cena is not going to lose the title after 2 minutes due to a Money in the Bank cash-in. Well, Brian, the next John Cena lost his first title in 2 minutes due to a Money in the Bank cash-in. He kicked out of the first Brogue Kick. However, he stood right back up, got Brogue Kicked the second time, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, Sheamus is your new WWE champion.
Yeah.
Hunter gets back in the ring, holding his ribs. Hunter has his corporate champion. He raises Sheamus' hand. Sheamus is now a 4-time world champion. He's not a 4-time WWE champion because he won 3 WWE titles and a world title. And shockingly, Brian, this was only Sheamus' second quickest title match when he won the belt.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first team against DB.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny thing about Sheamus' 4 title wins. Do you remember how he won his other 2 titles?
He ran the tables match. Didn't he win the Fatal 4-Way?
Yeah, he won the first one in a wacky tables match when John Cena fell off the top rope through a table. And then he won the second one in a Fatal 4-Way match when the Nexus ran in and beat up his opponents.
Yeah.
So Sheamus does not have a history of, classic title match wins.
Yeah.
But that's it for Survivor Series. I'll be honest, it's thumbs down, kind of leaning towards the middle, but, it's sad that, you had 3 pretty good matches, but the show was just still, it was torture to get through.
Yeah. I'm going to go thumbs in the middle. Because, if this card was held anywhere else, without the circumstances, what was going on around Atlanta today, I think they might have pulled off a very good show. But because of everything that was rumored to be going on, I think that's what killed the crowd. So.
Well, I don't think that's what killed the crowd. I think bad matches killed the crowd.
Hey, Emerson.
Hey, Brian.
Talk about TNA.
TNA.
Oh, you remind you.
TNA has pop, Brian.
Yeah. I had no idea what the heck you were talking about earlier, but yeah.
This might be one of those times when our good friend CVJ might want to end our portion of the show now because I want to point out when there's a nuclear apocalypse, the only 2 things that are going to survive are cockroaches and TNA.
Yep.
Do you remember when TNN became the national network when they got Raw and they changed their slogan to TNN, We've Got Pop?
Yep.
On either the last episode of ECW on TNN or maybe it was the pay-per-view, Joey Styles says something like, you can watch us every Friday night on TNN, the station with pop. And Joe Guttner is like, oh, it's better than our old slogan, TNN, we fuck pigs.
That's a good interview. I enjoy interviewing Joel.
I'm like, he didn't say that on that show, Brian.
No, because he would have made the interview a billion times better. Not that it could have gotten better, I think, but yeah.
So TNA is on Pop TV. It's the former TV Guide channel. Fewer people are aware of that channel than were aware of Destination America.
Sure.
I want to point out something funny. TNA was making about $13 or $14 million a year from Spike TV. And not only that, Spike was also paying the contracts of Sting, Kurt Angle, Hulk Hogan, Rob Van Dam, Jeff Hardy, and several others. They then decided to piss off Spike TV because it was more important to have Vince Russo on the payroll than it was to have Spike TV. So they said goodbye to the $13 million a year contract. They said goodbye to the network paying the contracts of Kurt Angle and Hulk Hogan and blah, 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 blah. And they said hi to Destination America, where they made about $9 million for the year, plus had to foot all the contracts themselves, either $8 or $9 million, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
And not a giant difference in the grand scheme of things, let's face facts. And everyone talked about, everyone who, because there was an argument of whether or not it was $8 or $9 million, people who refused to believe it, but it was, but whatever. But it's like, oh my God, how is TNA making any money off $8 or $9 million? Do you know what they're making on this deal, Brian?
I would say about 5.
Oh no, keep going down.
2?
Keep going down.
Seriously?
The best case scenario, because there are 2 stories floating around. Neither is incredibly appealing, but one is much, much worse than the other. The first is that there's no money being exchanged. Pop's not paying for programming, and TNA is not paying them for programming. And of the 2 options, that's the better of the 2 options. Because the other story is that it's a time buy. It's paid programming, meaning TNA is paying Pop TV to be on their network.
Why don't they just, really, just fold it and go? Cut your ties.
What income does TNA make? Think about it. They run 2 live pay-per-views a year that nobody buys. Like, literally nobody. Then, on top of that, they run 10 tape pay-per-views a year, which even fewer people buy. Like, if you go on torrent sites, you don't even see the one-night-only pay-per-views up there anymore. That's how few people buy those one-night-only shows. TNA runs the vast majority of their shows by charging nothing for ticket prices. And the one time they did, in the past 10 months, they got $180 paid for their version of WrestleMania. 180 people paid money to see that show. And then, go on.
How do the Matt Hardys, the Hardy Boys in general, the Kurt Angle, how can they tolerate it? I understand your schedule is awesome and beautiful, but you wonder why Austin Aries, Gunner, frickin' Samoa Joe, all these people are jumping to WWE. What do they have to look forward to in TNA? Absolutely nothing. And sooner or later, your Bobby Roodes, and those names are going to be well, what the hell am I doing here? And just go.
Well, Bobby Roode's not there anymore.
That's right. He's in GF or GFW, whatever it's called.
TNA has, if you think about it, if TNA would have closed tomorrow, let's look at it. Kurt Angle, he's said this is his last year. A lot of people say that, but Angle's had way too many injuries, and if this really is his last year, I'd believe him.
Yeah.
So, but even if it wasn't, he could get into WWE probably for, an extreme part-time schedule probably. He could go in and do a Jericho schedule.
Yeah,
Jeff Hardy, if he really wanted to go to WWE, they'd have him back in a heartbeat. Matt Hardy has spent the last 5 years making a pretty good living off the indies and ROH. He'll have no problem. Eric Young could get into NXT. Bobby Lashley has MMA. But what happens to literally everybody else?
Your EC3s, your Stevies, or what the heck that clown guy name is.
Crazy Steve.
Yeah, Crazy Steve.
Mahabali Shira. I can picture Vince signing him to NXT just to give him a tryout, but he won't last.
Enough.
Robbie E's got nothing. Well, Robbie E's never going to be signed. Jesse's never going to be signed. Abyss should have went to WWE a decade ago when he had the chance, but I don't want to say he's old and broken down, but he's gone through a lot of crap over the last decade. This would be it for so many of them. And it's sad that Abyss, when you think about it, Abyss is the only person on the TNA roster that's been there for so long that nobody in their right mind would want to see in WWE.
Yep.
He's been there for He's been there for 14 years.
Is he? He's been there since the beginning.
Yeah, he was on the very first show.
One of the few that can still say that.
Yeah.
Maybe the only one, really.
Borash.
Like actual wrestling, not Borash.
Abyss was on the first show, but then he wasn't on another show for like a year or so. So, literally Borash is the only person still there. And this is TNA, which has Josh Matthews and the Pope doing commentary, while Mike Tenay literally is collecting a paycheck to do absolutely nothing.
WWE brings Tenay in to commentate, you think?
No, he won't. This is it for Tenay. He may be able to, if New Japan gets serious about having American commentators, he might be able to get in there. But, even that's a once every couple month gig.
Do you picture that commentating team of JR and Mike Tenay?
I was so mad when he re-signed with TNA at the beginning of the year because that was going to be the Tokyo Dome commentating team, but then TNA got Destination America and still re-signed Tenay and then never used him.
I would watch if those two are commentators.
That would be amazing.
That would be fantastic.
Oh my God! And let's see here, but that's TNA, and it's I don't know what to say anymore. The thing is, we're going to sit here and get a lot of crap that we hate TNA. We're TNA haters. But we wouldn't be having this conversation if we didn't want TNA to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you and I ever discuss any independent show?
None.
Yeah, I'd like to see independent succeed, but let's face facts. If your local indie packed up and went away tomorrow, a new local indie would start the next day, and you probably wouldn't even notice. It's TNA has been around since 2002, and it's sad that their glory days were the days that we were complaining the most about their writing. It's sad to think that 2006, 2007, 2008, that was the TNA glory period, when we thought they were at their absolute worst.
Yeah. Sad but true.
And at this point, literally, they are only a company because they have all those international TV deals. And most of those international TV deals went up in smoke when the Destination America deal ended. They have a deal with India to air Impact up until 2019. And that is literally, I think, the main reason why they're still a company right now. Because they're still making money from that India deal, even though it's not very much.
It's still something, though.
do you even get Pop TV?
I get the TV Guide Network, so I'm assuming I do.
Well, that's what it is. It's
Yeah, I think I still do.
And and Impact is moving to literally the only night of the week it's never been on, Tuesdays.
I was actually trying to think of when it was on.
It's currently on Wednesdays, by the way. It runs head to head with us.
I believe we bring in better ratings than they do. I feel that.
I feel more people enjoy our show than theirs.
I'm sure.
Oh my God! So I'm done talking TNA right now. Velvet Sky, I met her a few weeks ago. Sweet girl. I could have talked to her for hours. She had some really good opinions about what's going on there, and I feel kind of like a jerk now for bringing it up because I'm not going to say any of those opinions because I don't want to throw her under the bus. But a lot of people agree with everything that everyone says.
Yeah.
But what can you do, Brian? What can you do?
Go to bed.
Yeah, might as well go to bed. So Wednesday is our 99th show. Dave Meltzer is going to be on with me on Wednesday. And then December 2nd, I've got some surprises, including one for Brian.
Does this mean I have a week off?
Well, yeah, but you better start. I don't want to get into too much, Brian, but you got a week off. But then we're going to start watching a lot of stuff, every week. So.
Well, I am working 10 hours on Thanksgiving, and the Cowboys come on at I think 4. So I have a solid 6 hours to do whatever I want, really.
How do you get that?
What do you mean?
So you're going to be watching a Cowboys game and then spending the 6 hours after that doing nothing?
Well, no, the 3 hours before, possibly, and the 3 hours I may have to spare during the day. I don't know. I'll figure out something.
All righty. So with that, we're done for today, Brian. Do you have any last words to say? Because this is the last time you'll be on until episode 100. Do you have anything else you want to say to everyone?
I would just like to thank our loyal listeners for listening to us for almost 100 episodes, and here's to 104.
Oh, by the way, we're going to have a new opening theme song for episode number 100.
Ooh, nice.
I can't wait to hear your reaction.
Oh, God, I'm afraid.
But
I'm afraid now.
Here's a hint. I've taken I've definitely taken the most memorable soundbite in our show's history, and I've added that to the beginning of our into our entrance.
Well, I don't want it to be on there.
You want to take a guess?
Nope.
Because you know what it is.
Yup.
Oh, God.
Oh, I hate you. There are times where I hate you. And next Wednesday is going to be one of those days, I think.
You're the one who said that.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I'm afraid I got some bad news for you, Lottie.
The podcast is starting?
Oh, the best part is, we just gave it away. It wasn't just that Brian said, I'm afraid I got some bad news, the show's about to start. It's the fact that I'm afraid I got some bad news, and then he takes a 10-second pause before saying that the show's about to start.
I forgot what I was supposed to say.
And that wasn't what you were supposed to say at the end of the day anyway.
Nope.